What's up, guys? My name is Tim. This is New Craft Workshop, and you found our Beginners Woodworking series. If you've been here before, welcome back. We truly appreciate all the love and support we've gotten from you guys since we started this channel. If this is your first time,
where the hell have you been?
What the hell took you so long? This place is fun. We do some really cool projects, and you only need 3 shop tools. You need a saw. We use a miter saw, but if you don't have one, grab one of these for your miter cuts. And anything bigger than will fit in this, which I think is a 6-inch wide board, anything bigger than that, you still can use your hand saw. Just going to have to be really precise. Make sure you take your time with your hand saw, but if it's in your budget, grab a miter saw. You can pick up a cheap one for less than $100 at the big box stores or on Amazon. I'll put a link down to one that I think is worth the money if you're just starting out. You're going to need a nail gun or a hammer and nails. We use a nail gun just to speed things up here, but hammer and nails is more than sufficient. And you'll need a drill. With 3 tools, you can make 3 really cool projects. Every episode, we give you 3 new ideas, and we ask you to, if you've been here before, what is it that I always say? I know you get tired of hearing it, but make it your own. I give you a blueprint, a very basic build, and then I ask you guys, dress it up, make it better than I made it today. It's the whole purpose of Beginners Woodworking, is to make you guys better out in your shop. 2 quick things, and we'll get right to building, I promise. Boom, here's our winner from last week. I've reached out like I always do. I will give them a few days to respond. Once I get in contact with them in the comment section, I will have them email me directly and I'll coordinate. You have won a really cool shop item, 30 to 50 bucks, and I do this every time we have one of these episodes. If we get a certain amount of likes, a certain amount of comments, because thumbs ups and likes are the same thing, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Certain amount of likes, a certain amount of comments, and a certain amount of subscribers. At the end of this video, I'll tell you what we need to give away something for next episode. Number 2, down in the comments, let me know your thoughts on this. Today we're building a box in one of the 3 builds, and the box is going to be for our dining room table that my wife is going to put a centerpiece in and decorate it. I wanted to show you guys that build. It's very quick, it's very simple. It's probably going to take like 5 minutes on camera at most. But I want to ask you guys to comment down below and let me know, what are your thoughts about every once in a while we do an episode, instead of 3 separate builds, we build something and we really focus on some techniques of those builds. For example, building a box is a very fundamental thing that you're going to need out in your shop as you grow in your woodworking journey. A box this big with a lid on it, stained and sanded and made to look real nice. You pop a hinge on the back, you've got a nice jewelry box. A box this big with a plywood bottom and a face on it is a drawer. A box this big with a handle on top could be a toolbox or a carrying tote or the beer caddy like we made a couple weeks ago in one of our beginners episodes. So let me know your thoughts down below. What are your thoughts on occasionally we throw in an episode where instead of 3 totally random items, we make something that focuses on showing you guys a specific beginner's technique. Maybe one time we do something that is going to focus on miter joints, because as you progress in this, you're going to have to get better at your miters, especially your 45s. You don't want wonky looking picture frames if you're going to try to build them. So let me know down in the comments your thoughts. Enough talk. Let's get to build number 1. Build number 1 is our take on this little side table that is going to go right next to where I normally sit on the sofa. This is going to hold my remote controls, and it's going to hold magazines, iPad, whatever else needs to go down there. And on top, I'm going to be able to set my drinks or whatever I want to put up on top while I'm watching college and NFL football, mostly on the weekends. But yeah, so I'm sure you've seen this similar build on YouTube before. I'm going to show you how to make a very, very basic and rustic looking one out of some 2x4s, some 1x8s, and some slats. And yeah, we love using slats here at New Craft Workshop because it gives things a pretty cool look for really, really cheap. So as always, we're going to start with our cut list. Now, we are going to need 2 1x8s. These are cut to 18 inches long each. We're going to need two 2x4s. Now, mine are cut to 24 inches long each. Before I give you the rest of this cut list, let me show you this. This is the basic premise of this. Measure your sofa. If you cut yours 24 inches and your sofa is 27 inches, this is not going to fit. This fits my sofa. Measure your sofa for these two pieces right here. I'm giving you a cut list today, but measure, measure, measure. Because if you don't measure and you follow my directions, you're going to get mad, and then you're going to go down the comments and you're going to say, hey, this thing didn't fit under my couch. But I warned you. Measure your own sofa. Next is two more 2x4s. These are cut to 11 inches long each. And finally, we have 2, 4, 8 slats. These are cut to 14 inches long each. Now, if you've been here before, you know about slats. If you have not been here before, slats are available as slats.
You don't say.
At the big box store. These are usually about a 1/4 inch thick, 1.5 inches or so wide. Another thing you can do if you can't find slats at your local store, go to the paint department, buy a yardstick. Same dimensions, almost exactly. The only thing is you'll have to sand or paint over the etched, impressed, embossed, whatever they do to get the numbers on there, the markings and the numbers for the yardstick. But you can sand that off. It's not very deep in there. It's light sanding, or you can paint over it. Slats, you're going to need 8 of those. All right, tool list. Of course, we're going to need our saw. We've got to cut everything to length. Then we are going to need our nailer. Again, we use brad nailer. Hammer and nails on your end if you don't have a brad nailer. You're going to need 1 inch long brads, because the only thing we're brad tacking in place are going to be these. 1 inch is more than enough. And finally, you're going to need your drill. And then we are going to need, as I said, some 1 inch brads. We are also going to need some screws that are going to put our 2x4 frame together. So I would say 2.5 to 3 inch long screws to get this assembled. And then we are also going to need some wood glue. Today I'm using Titebond 2 because I don't keep Titebond 1 in my shop and it's not going outdoors, so we don't need complete waterproof. So let's get right after this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark these boards right here for where we want to install our 2x4s that are going across like this. Basically, this is the premise. This is how it's going to look. So we need to mark this. I am going to leave a 14-inch gap down here because I want room for some magazines or iPad or my laptop or whatever I want to stick in here when I am watching some college football and playing some fantasy football on the weekends. So I'm going to leave 14 inches here. This will be more than enough room to hold like our remote controls and whatever else we're going to put in here. So first thing we're going to do is simply come up from the bottom 14 inches, place us a mark, and then we're going to mount our 2x4 above that mark. So our mark is here, our 2x4 is going above it. Now, I am not going to measure up. I'm going to just simply drill 4 holes here. I want to be in the center of this board. I know I need to be 3/4 of an inch above that. If you don't feel comfortable with that, put your marks at 14 3/4. This is where you're going to drill your holes. We are going to countersink. So we're going to drill our 4 holes here. That'll put us right in the middle of our 2x4 when we go to mount it. We're also going to need 4 holes at the top. Those are going to be for the 2x4 that is going to run across the top for stability. So let's get some holes drilled and then we'll get this thing put together. All right, I am using 2.5 inch long construction screws. I use construction screws because, well, I like the Torx drive on them instead of the Phillips drive. I hate Phillips drive, and please don't even get me started on slotted stuff because, yeah, I'm never going to use anything slotted in this shop. And we are going to use 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to use glue on this as well. Again, this is going indoors. And real quick also, I did take the time to measure that 14-inch mark on both sides, because when I go to install these boards, I don't want to have to guess where this is supposed to go. So I did take the time to measure and mark 14 inches on both sides. So when I go to drive this in, we are nice and lined up. So let's get going. All right, we're just going to put some glue on the end of this. And it doesn't have to be a ton of glue. This is going to stay together with the screws. If we were using simply brad nails, I tell you guys a lot, the glue does a lot of the hold, and it does. But when we're screwing something in place like this, we don't need to go overboard with our glue. So let's get these screws driven in and get these two pieces of 2x4 mounted here. All right, so at this point, this is what we've got. Now, next step is going to be to put our bottom and our top on. And we are going to offset this just like this. We want this completely flush at the bottom. And the reason that we want that is we want to be able to slide this in a little bit as tight to the edge of our sofa as we can get it. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure in on both sides an equal amount. And we should be, if I'm not mistaken, right at 2 inches on either side because of the way we built this. This is 14 inches long. We cut this at 18. So we're right at 2 inches on either side. Same thing here. We are going to come in on the bottom right here, pre-drill a couple holes, and then we're going to screw this in place. All right, and once we get this pre-drilled, we'll take and put some glue. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. It doesn't have to be extremely precise. We just want our screws to get into the middle of that particular board. So we're going to slide this around and do the same thing over here. And I'm going to run some glue and get these bottoms put on, or get the bottom put on. Sorry about that. I'm just going to line this back up. And same thing, we're going to just drive in 2 screws. This will hold this in place till that glue gets set up. And now we're going to repeat for our top exactly the same way. We're just going to lay this flat on our workbench. We're going to center this the best we can. I've got some rough here on this. I'm going to flip that to the back. Nobody will see that. Same thing. We're going to just line this up 2 inches on either end. And then we are going to pre-drill. Top, I'm not going to glue in place. There's no need. We're just going to put 4 screws in the top. That'll hold it down. So let's do this. All right. So at this point, this is where we're at. This is going to slide in to my sofa, and then we're going to cover up this with some slats. So we're going to take 2 slats on each place. Because this bottom one is holding some magazines, I'm actually going to space these slats out a little bit. Kind of eyeball it. Make it your own, right? Always make it your own. We're going to kind of slide those out. This particular one, I'm going to put one right at that 2x4 and then just one right above it. I want to be able to, as a matter of fact, you know what? Things change while we're doing these builds, right? This is kind of stuff I just kind of throw together in my head and we get out here and we build it. I'm going to put one slat here. That'll be more than enough to hold my remotes in place. Then I'm going to come down here since we cut 4, and I'm going to use 3 of them down here. I think that's going to be our best bet. So let's lay this flat. We're going to put this right above this particular board. Let me turn this way so you can see. I'm just going to leave a slight gap just so you'll be able to see that this is a slat, whereas if we put it here, it might just look more like a big, huge board, and we don't really want that look. So I'll just bring this up about 1/4 of an inch. We're going to glue and tack this in place, and then we will do the same exact thing for the 3 slats down on the bottom. Now, we're using 1-inch brads, and again, if you don't have a brad nailer, Don't worry about it. Hammer and nails is more than sufficient here. We're just going to pop a couple in either end. And these are going to get puttied just like the screw holes. I say puttied, but filled in, you know what I mean. So we're going to do one here, and then we're going to come down here and we're going to do 3. And again, I am not going to measure these. I am simply going to eyeball where I want these. I just want to kind of make sure that my 3 gaps here are equal. Something along these lines right here. And then we'll just pop some glue in place and brad these down. And then we're going to flip this over and repeat for the other side. And when we do the other side, we want to make sure that we just kind of, again, I haven't taken any measurements here, but we do want to kind of line them up so that they all look like they're in line with each other. So, all right, let's repeat this. And that's what we got. That's it. A couple 2x4s, 1x8s, and some slats. We've got this really cool thing that is going to slide under the edge of the sofa. And then from this side, I'm going to have access to my remote controls. I'm going to have access to my magazines, iPad, whatever's down here. And I got this top to put my cold beverages on, so I don't have to worry about putting them on the edge of the sofa because, yeah, that's accident waiting to happen. So this is going to get completely dressed up as far as all of these screw holes are going to get filled in. All of these nail holes are going to get filled in. This gap right here where, as you can see, this board had some damage to the edge. It looks like, honestly, it's just the edge of the log itself. It's a little bark showing. I'm going to fill all this in, run over this with the sander, and then when you guys see this prior to the build in the beginning of this particular section of the series, because with editing I always get to show you guys the finished project first.
Magic, it's magic.
You'll see this thing looks actually really nice next to the sofa. So that's it for build number 1. Pretty easy build, but again, we tried to make something that is pretty useful. Hopefully you guys will also use this as well. So that's it for build number 1. Let's get in on build number 2. Okay, so build number 2 is going to be this really simple box. My wife wanted something just short, rectangular, but long to hold a centerpiece that she made that you guys just saw in that intro video. So today we're going to build this. It's really quick build, but again, it's the fundamentals that you guys are going to need moving forward. If you can build a box, you can build a box, and then that box can be tons and tons of things. So for this particular box, we're going to use nothing but butt joints. We're going to use 1x4 material, butt joints, and some brads and glue, and that is it. So let's get right after it with the cut list. We're going to need 3 pieces of 1x4. These are 24 inches long each. And then we're going to need 2 pieces of 1x4. These are 4 7/8 inches long each. Why 4 7/8? Because when this box goes together like this, and I'm showing you the most basic way to build a box today, the piece on the end, the length is determined by these 3 pieces together. Because this material comes from the big box store, make sure you measure your pieces once you get the foundation, the 3 pieces like this put together for your box. My particular measurement is 4 7/8, so that when we put this on the end, we're going to be flush with our side pieces. This is all we're going to build today. This is a box, but it is made from butt joints.
You said butt.
It is the basic foundation of any kind of box building you're going to need moving forward. So let's get right after this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 3 pieces, and they are going to wind up going together just like this. This is going to form this 3-sided box. I don't know what else to call it, but this is what we're going to form, and then we're going to tack our ends in place. Glue indoors, because this is going on our dining room table, we're going to use Titebond 2, and we're going to just tack this in place with some 1¼ brads. Make sure your brads are always sized for the material that you are going through, not the material you are going into. So we are going through a 3/4 inch thick board. A 1-inch brad is only going to give us about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, depending on how countersunk the head of our nails are. But we're going to use 1¼ inch. We want to get in there and give this a little bit more of a bite. So first things first, we're just going to run some glue down our side here. I'm not even going to spread this out. And then we're going to take our side, put it on top. We're going to line up our ends, and we're going to tack this in place. If you don't have a nail gun, take your time with this part. If you make sure that all of your sides are lined up as you tack it together, it's going to make for a nicer looking box, and it's going to be less sanding at the end. So let's get this tacked in place. And then we're going to repeat for our other side. And I am absolutely leaving this sticker on because I'll just put it on the inside. All right, at this point, we've got this. All we've got left to do is put on our ends, and we have built a box. Congratulations. Easy. You guys got this. This is not that difficult. That's why I asked you at the beginning if you're interested in learning to build boxes different ways. There's a ton of different ways we could put this box together, a ton of different ways that the corners could go together, the bottom could go in, etc. So if you're interested, again, let me know down at the bottom. All right, next step and last step is simply to tack our ends into place. And for this, we're just going to run some glue along the edge, just like the other components. Pop our end on and tack it in place with our brad nailer. And big box store lumber is infamous for not being square. So get one side tacked on and square it up as best you can. And then you have the ability, hopefully on this camera you can see over here, this is off a little bit. Now you have the ability to kind of work this and square this off a little bit before you tack your other side into place. Just make sure that your thumb is out of the way. Trust me, I know from experience. And let's get our glue off now. So much easier to do it now. And we'll come down to the other end and repeat. That's it. I mean, seriously. You just made a box. Congratulations.
I am so proud of you.
We've done boxes before, but we've really never discussed the basics of what a box is and what it can be. So again, look, you put a face on this and some drawer slides, this is a drawer. I mean, this is all it takes, guys, to start making more things out in your shop. So I'm not even going to talk about this anymore. We made a box. Let me know down in the comments if you want more box building, more boxes, more box info. That's it. Build 2. That's a wrap. Let's get on to build number 3. All right, build number 3. How awesome was that Koozie Caddy that you just saw there? I mean, I like it, and it serves a purpose, and it's freaking awesome and easy to build. So we're going to get right in this build with our cut list. So we are making this all from cedar pickets. I am making mine 12 inches tall. If you want your Koozie Caddy bigger than that, because you have a ton of koozies, build this as tall as you want. The only thing that's going to change are the 2 little guides up front that hold the koozies in place. You'll have to adjust those measurements. We're making ours today 12 inches tall. So our cut list, cedar pickets, 3 pieces, 12 inches long. 1 piece, cedar picket, 6 inches long. And then we have 2 pieces that are about 1 inch wide, and these are 11 1/4. Now, I know not everyone out there watching this beginner series has a table saw where I ripped these down to 1 inch wide, but you can make this out of pine using 1x6s, and you can purchase This square stock right here, you can get this material in the big box stores where they sell the dowels. They also sell square stock. Feel free to build yours that way. If you have the ability to rip down some cedar pickets like I've done here today, make this out of cedar because it's going to weather and it's going to look really cool when it turns gray. But if not, beginner series, basic builds, make it your own. All right, let's get this thing together. This is going to go together just like that other box, except the other box we put our side pieces on the outside of our base. This unit we're going to mount like this. And the reason we're changing it up on this box is because we need that for our measurements for our koozies. So this is going to go together the same exact way, with one exception. We are going to use Type Bond 3 because we are outdoors. This is going to hold much better outdoors. We're going to just run a bead of glue, tack our side pieces in place, and then we'll get to the next step. And now it's time to get our bottom put on. Now the bottom is going to get glued and just simply tacked into place, just like we did the other box we made. So let's run us a bead of glue here. And we're going to line up just like we did on the other, because cedar pickets are very similar to dimensional lumber from the big box store. It's never accurate, square, true, whatever you want to call it. So let's start with one side and let's get this in place. Let's line up our edges. And then when we come to the other side over here, we can kind of move this around a little bit and get this squared up. And so far, this is what we've got, and we are almost done. Now, these next two pieces are going to go in here, and they are not going to go all the way to the bottom. If they went all the way to the bottom, our koozies wouldn't have a place to slip out. So we just want to make sure that we are flush here at the top when we mount these. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get anything in here to tack these in place. So right here, we're going to glue this in place, and we are going to need some sort of clamps. Now, let me show you what I use. These spring clamps right here are wonderful. I talk all the time about things you might need as a beginner in your shop. Clamps is one of the things you literally cannot get enough clamps. You'll always find a project, especially down the road. You'll go to start putting something together and you'll be like, oh, I need like 10 more clamps for this project. It's going to happen. Start with the set of spring clamps. These are great. Spring clamps and trigger clamps should be on your first two items. They should be the first two items on your list of clamps that you need for your shop. These are actually made by Rockler, but there is a set on Amazon that comes with a multitude of sizes. I'll put a link down below. Anytime I use something here in the shop, I always link it down below for you guys. And look, I'm not going to lie. If you click that link and order anything at all on Amazon, it helps our channel. So, you know, we appreciate it. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't. It does. It's a real tiny, tiny amount, but any help we can get like that, we definitely appreciate. But spring clamps you are going to need. So what we're going to do is just glue this, put this here, and then I'll put a couple clamps on here to hold this in place while the glue sets up. And then that is it for this really cool Koozie Caddy. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this in place, clamp both of these pieces in place, and then we're done with this particular part of the build. That's it. Clamps will need to stay on there probably an hour to hour and a half. This glue sets up pretty quick. I just want to leave it on there as long as I can. I don't need this caddy this evening, so if you want to let it sit overnight, that's probably even better. But yeah, this is a really cool outdoor Koozie Caddy, and because it's cedar, it's going to weather really cool. It's going to turn that silvery gray like your fence, if you have a fence around your house. This is something that we could dress up, and as a matter of fact, this might be a project that I do on the intermediate series by making it better, because I have someone that I think would use this in their man cave. So I might make one of these with some really nice spline joinery with some walnut and maple on the intermediate. So if you haven't watched that series, go ahead and click subscribe for my channel, turn on those notifications, and watch that series as well. Show you what you guys can do when you step up from beginner to intermediate by adding just a few tools to your shop. So that's it for today, guys. 3 easy builds. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Before we go, please give me 2 more minutes. Don't leave yet. Before we go, let's talk about 2 quick things. One, here's what we need next week to give away something on this particular episode. This many likes, this many comments, and this many new subscribers. You guys have been killing this. I think out of the 10 episodes, we've only missed these numbers 1 time. So let's keep it rolling. Let's get this done. Also, don't forget down below to comment. Leave me some positives or negatives about the builds today. And let me also know what you guys think about maybe having a specialty beginners episode, maybe once every 3 or 4 episodes where we talk about more of like some foundational skills like I discussed today, like boxes, for example. We can talk about joints one episode, etc. Similar to what I'm doing on the intermediate, but we will actually build 3 separate items to really show you guys how those foundational skills can help you out in your shop. Let me know down in the comments. And finally, starting October 1st, there will be some plans up on my website, some merchandise up on my website, and we will be offering memberships to our channel. And please, before you say anything, they are extremely cheap. I plan on giving you guys a couple benefits for signing up. One is going to be discounts on merchandise and discounts on plans that we have up on our website. We're also going to have a chat once or twice a month that will be members only, where I'm going to sit down with you guys and we can just shop talk, woodworking, wood building, whatever. If we did it in the morning, I would call it the Morning Wood Podcast, if you know what I mean. But there, that's it. That's enough for today. If you guys don't mind, if you have not already, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. As always, helps our channel more than anything else you guys can do. That's it. As always, appreciate your time, and we will catch you on YouTube.